Directions for your Keith Haring figures. Begin with your colored construction paper. Begin by starting with the head, about a finger's amount of space from the top of the paper, maybe less than that because you do want to draw very large. And you're going to draw your head, which is almost a complete circle, but not quite. And then you're going to add your shoulders because there are no necks on Keith Haring's figures. And when I draw the shoulders, I'm making sure to leave room for my arms, and it depends on how you're drawing your arms. And then I'm going to start adding my part of my arm, and his hands do not include fingers, so they're kind of like mittens or just rounded shapes like the top of a mitten. And so I'm drawing the top part of the arms first and adding the hands, and then I'm going to go and add a couple dots to kind of gauge out where the torso is going to be, and I don't want it to be too skinny, so it stops about where the head stops, or the head shape stops. And I added some dots kind of where almost where the armpits might be, and then continue my arms. From those dots, you're going to draw the torso and the legs. So starting at the dot, you'll draw downward, and you're going to stop depending on where your leg is going to start and what it's kind of doing. When you draw the foot, you're making kind of a C curve, and then you'll kind of stop, pause for a second, and figure out where you want your other leg. And notice I did draw my leg pretty long. I'm using up most of the paper, and I drew down nearly to the bottom of the paper. This time I'm going to add a leg with a bend in it and add the kind of same boot shape yet again. And then the knee, and I'm going to go upward and kind of make those two lines meet for the two legs. Next, you're going to cut out that one figure that you have drawn. Be sure to really take your time while you're cutting. And remember, the hand holding the paper turns the paper, and the scissors just open and close essentially. Hopefully you drew nice and big so it's not too challenging to cut out your figure. Then, using your drawn figure, choose another piece of colored paper, and you're going to very carefully trace around the figure that you have cut out so that it will be matching. It's a little tricky to trace around construction paper, so take your time. Then you're going to take your figure that you traced, and you're going to take the last two sheets of paper and put them together with a couple paper clips. Make sure you have one on kind of the top and the bottom. And then you will very carefully cut out two figures at the same time. Just as with the first figure you cut out, really take your time cutting out these as well so that they are all as similar as possible. When you've finished cutting, make sure to grab the paper clips and set those aside and return them later so they can be used again. Throw your scraps in the trash, and then you will have 3 matching figures. Remember your name and teacher code on the back, and then decide your arrangement. I like to have my pencil lines be on the back, so I flipped my figure over. And then just kind of start experimenting and see how you'd like them arranged. Once you've figured out how you want them arranged, use a glue stick, turn it up just a little bit, and add glue, really focusing on the edges, and carefully place it down. Next, grab a black Sharpie and outline all the way around each of your figures, even if you did black paper. That way they are consistently the same size by adding that extra kind of black outline. And notice when I add the black outline, I'm also outlining on top of the other construction paper. And the only time I do this is when I'm adding the black outline to these figures. Other than that, you're not adding any extra lines on the colored construction paper. The last step of this project is adding repeating lines or lines that echo lines that are already on your paper. And you can add these lines where they're just skinny lines that go around your entire figure, or you can tip your marker to make very large wide lines. It's really your preference. I personally like the very wide line, so I kind of tip my marker to use the side of the top of the marker, so it makes that really wide line, and I'm not doing any coloring, I'm just tipping my marker to get a wider line. Notice when I get to the different color of paper, I stop my line. I do not draw on top of the purple construction paper. So the only marker that you do draw on top of the construction paper would be the Sharpie marker. And then just repeat this process however you choose. And finally, in the last spaces you have, the smaller spaces I actually just colored in with yellow because I used yellow on all my figures. But if you want to do it different, that's okay. Any of the little white spaces you see, you can add any kind of line designs or patterns of your choice. Make sure that you're taking your time and having a bit of a plan so it comes together nicely.